This video is if you didn't have a laptop today, or if you're having any setup issues, this video should hopefully help you. So first step was to make a GitHub account. The second step is to make a repository. So if I'm on the home page, it'll say something like create new repository, create new plus. It's just green new button is what you want. And when you name it, you want it to be named this, something like this, not Deep Space Mermaid. That's my username, but it will be your username, exactly how you see it here, exactly how you see it up here, .github.io. And this is a special URL that will be kind of your home base for all of your projects. So once you have that created, it's going to have a bunch of stuff on this page that's going to be like, okay, next steps, blah, blah, blah. So just leave this open for now, or leave that open for now. You may need it in a bit. So the other things we need to do are install two other pieces of software. One is at desktop.github.com. You're going to want to download that. And once you download it, it should look something, hang on, cancel, like this. You should get to a let's get started page. Once that is installed, then you should install Visual Studio Code, which is at code.visualstudio.com. And it should guess what computer you're on. And when you download that, you should end up with something that looks like like this. You'll have a get started page. So just leave that as it is, or you can just delete, you can just close it. So this is a close button. So now we have like a blank start. And we want to go back to the purple app, which is GitHub Desktop. And we're going to click clone a repository from the internet. Now, if you don't have this button, you can also say file clone repository. So we're going to click that, clone. It has my repository here. If yours isn't showing up, you can do it by the URL. So if you go to the repository that you made, it'll have like the URL for it here. If I click code, I can get this URL here. But you should be able, it should be on your screen if there's nothing in that file. So either place, either out here or like under code, that's great. And then you can use that. Now, the other thing you want to make sure is that you are putting your stuff in the right place. So if it says documents/GitHub, you may want to choose a different folder. Mine I have on the desktop. It's a folder called DES341. And I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to say clone. And it should clone my repository. La 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 la. Okay, cool. So I'm kind of skipping ahead a bit because I think this still has files in it. But once you have, so that's the purple app. So once you're here with the purple app, actually this is kind of handy. You can say open in Visual Studio Code. But I would rather you come here and say file, add folder to workspace, and then go find that repository. So here it is. I'll just do this whole folder so that all the projects that I'm going to work on, they'll be in here. So I'm going to say add the whole folder. Now I have this workspace. And if you haven't created a file, what you want to do is click on the name of your repository. So here, I'll just show you. Here's the repository. And then I'm just going to make a new file. I'll just call it bio or something. Okay. So if I close images, you can see that images, bio, index, and style, they're all on the same level. These are from the class today, and I'll kind of go over the tags again since you may have missed them. But let's do a minor change just so we can check this in. So if you haven't made one already, you should make an index.html file the same way I just did this bio page. So you're going to click on this. It like expands and contracts. It doesn't matter if it's open or not. It'll just make sure, it'll put that file in this folder. And then you click on that new file, and you want the very first file to be index.html. So here's that. I've already kind of like done some stuff to this, but I'll add some more. Alana Reese, things Alana likes. What else do I like? I don't remember what I like. Naps. I like naps. Naps. Okay. So I've made a change to this. And now I want to go back to the GitHub desktop app to make sure that it's being recognized. So if I go back here, now I can see, okay, cool. So this changed to this. So red is sort of old and green is new. And then I added this new line that says naps. And then there is the summary field, and this is the only field that's required for you to put anything in. So I can just say added naps. And if this is your first commit, you can say initial commit. You can this is really a message to you to remind you of what you did. If you were working with a team, it would be a message to everyone so that when they are kind of collecting your code and adding it to theirs, they know what they're adding. So it's good to get into the habit of just having pretty descriptive messages. But when I click this commit to main button, what it will do is it'll kind of timestamp it on my computer. So only on my computer, not on github.com, but locally, I now have this sort of history. So if I go back here, I can see, here's what I just did. I added naps. Okay, so in changes, back to changes. So now on the right side, it says I have no local changes because I did my timestamp locally. Now I want to push those changes that I committed, and you'll get used to this language. We'll talk more and more about it as the term goes. I want to push it to the origin remote, which is basically what we set up on github.com. This is going to push it to github.com where we'll be able to share it with the world. So I'm going to say push origin, and then that is what is going to send it to github.com. So if we go back to GitHub, which is in a different window, there we go. If you had that finish the setup message, now when you refresh, you should see a list of files. If you don't, you can click on code. That should pop them up. You can click on the names of the files and you can see the changes. So if I look here, I'll see, oh, there's my naps that I just added. So now I know that that github.com is talking to my machine, and that the GitHub desktop app is pushing stuff up to github.com. Let's think about troubleshooting. If this is not happening for you, it may be because you're editing, maybe you downloaded, you cloned the files and then you didn't like where they were and you tried to move them. Git really doesn't like that. Git is kind of the app that's it's an invisible app that's doing all this stuff for us that this GitHub desktop app is using to kind of do these timestamps. It doesn't like it when you move files by yourself. So if you go here and you right click on this, I'm on a trackpad, so if I 2-finger click, it'll come up, and then I can say reveal in Finder. If this location here is different than if I go back to Visual Studio Code and then I 2-finger click on this and I say reveal in Finder. So this one is desktop DES341 Deep Space Mermaid. This matches this. So I know they're in the right place. If that's not happening for you, what I would do is I would go back to this app. I would right click on this, let's see, I'll show you how to. So when you're in this view, if you click on this again, it kind of expands. See that? Expands all of your repositories into a list view. There'll be more later on, but right now we just have one. And then you can right click on this. And when you say remove, tell it also move this repository to trash. So just trash it. Just trash it. Remember, our main file, like our main version, is the one that's on github.com. So our local one is just like we're just typing away and then we push it up. We can always get a fresh copy. So I'm going to remove this and move the repository to the trash. Repository means the same thing as folder, same thing as directory. There's some there's some slight differences, but for all intents and purposes, a repository you can think of it as a folder. So I'm going to remove it, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say clone a repository from the internet, or I can go up here, same thing, clone repository. And then I can kind of move it to where I want it to be. So let's say I really wanted to put it in, I don't know, I have this sites folder. I could put it in here. But I'm going to just keep it on the desktop. So now I can select that. If you find this happening, see how there's like now this untitled, just delete that. It's weird. And then, so here's my empty folder. I am cloning to here with the URL, but I don't have a URL. Sorry, I'm going to clone from here. I'm going to choose this folder and I'm going to clone it. And now I know it's like where it's supposed to be. So that's the way you can move it. Any other troubleshooting I can think of right now? I think I'm going to move on to HTML. If I haven't covered something that's happening with you, let me know. So for those of you who missed a lot of today's stuff, pretend I'm doing, well, whatever. We'll just start over. Just going to delete all this. Okay, so the first thing we did in class was just verified that we have live server running. So live server is an extension. I'm going to just say hello world here and save it. So we're in index.html. On the left-hand side here, we've got File Explorer, we've got source control, that's Git, and we'll try to get this working later on. There's a search bar, there's a run and debug. We won't use these very often. There's Remote Explorer, I don't even know what that is. And then there's this one. So this is extensions. It's the 3 boxes with 1 box kind of floating off. And when you click on it, the one thing that you want to install right now is called Live Server. I'm going to quickly uninstall it so you can see. So this is the Live Server extension we're going to use. All these are like little mini apps that people write to share with the public. This one is quite popular, 26 million downloads and 4.5 stars. So we know it's probably pretty safe. So I'm going to click install and this little go live button is going to show up. So now that this is installed, we can go back to our file explorer. We can click on this index.html and then we can click on the go live button. So it might have moved, you have all this like tag unsure because we haven't given it a lot of the tags that it wants. So I'm going to click go live. That should automatically launch a browser window and there's the text I wrote. Cool. So let's talk about some tags. The first tag we want is called doctype, exclamation doctype. Doctype space HTML. This tells the browser, hey, I am an HTML document, and specifically, I am an HTML5 document. The older versions of HTML had different doc type tags. They looked very weird and long. So we're telling the browser, yeah, I'm HTML, sweet, because some of these files may not be .html. There's a lot of different like web technologies out there that use different file extensions. The next tag we want is HTML. And this is basically telling the browser, all right, my HTML code is going to start here right after this tag. And then when you find the closing HTML tag, that means I'm done giving you HTML. The next tag we want to do is head. Head is sort of like the invisible stuff in a file. Like it might have information about the author, or maybe there's like a geolocation if it's like a store website. It might link to a style sheet or other files, maybe font files, but the head is invisible. There's the head and the body. So in the head, the only tag I'm going to worry about right now is the title tag. This is the only one that I guess is sort of visible, but it's outside it's not in the browser window, it's above the window. It's the thing that gives you the text in the tabs. So I'm just going to say my lovely website. And then so I still have my server running. It says port 5500. So if I still have that tab, and here it is, and I refresh, I got rid of the hello world, but now it says my lovely website in the tab. And then after the head, so we want to open it and close it, we're going to have a body tag. And the body is like the browser window. It's everything. I'll show you the kind of the square. It's the square. And I'll just give it like a H1 for header. My super duper lovely website, just so you can tell the difference between this and this. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so now this is the title tag in the head. The body is basically everything visible below the URL field, everything that you see. So let's add a style.css file. Before I do that, I'm going to delete all this stuff that I did before, just so we're starting fresh. Okay, so we want to link to it in the head, and the HTML tag we want to use is the link tag. Here's another cool thing about Visual Studio Code. It has this tool built in called Emmet, and it allows us to type the name of an HTML tag, and then if we hit tab after typing the word, it will fill in the rest of the tag for us. So this is a link to another file. The relationship of the link is that it's a style sheet, and the href of that file is going to be style.css. I'll delete this just so we can make a new one together. Move to trash. Okay, so I'm pointing to this file. I want it to be on the same level as index. So I'm going to click on Deep Space Mermaid, my repository, and I'm going to click New File. And it is a sibling of index. They are both children of the repository, and they are equal siblings. So here's my style. The file extension tells Visual Studio Code, oh, this is a style sheet. So it gives it this cool icon versus this HTML icon. Okay, so let's just make sure the style works. We're going to say, oops, for the body, so that's an HTML tag that is all of the visual stuff. Give it a background of pink. And then that way we can tell, okay, they're linked together, everything looks good. Make sure you remember this semicolon at the end. Make sure that the key, which is background, is separated from the value of pink by this semicolon. This little thumbnail pops up automatically from from Visual Studio Code. So if you're not getting it, you're probably trying a color that doesn't exist. Like this is, if I tried to do the color grop, it would be like, I don't have a color grop. So, but I bet there's a grape. Maybe. No, there's no grape. All right, we'll go back to pink. So pink is a color, so that shows up. Make sure there's an opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket. And make sure that the name of the file matches the file that you're pointing to. Make sure they're like on the same level. And that should be that should work. If you go to your website and it's not pink, make sure that the URL says something like, it should say 127.0.0.1:5500. This means this is on your computer, not on the internet. This is just your local computer. We haven't pushed it up to GitHub yet. So if it doesn't say this, go back to Visual Studio Code, close the port. So click on, if it says port 5500, close it by clicking on it, and then click it again. And that will open a new browser window. And then that way you can make sure that you're on the right page, that that everything is groovy. So now we have things linked. Let's practice pushing this up to github.com. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to make sure everything's saved. If it's not saved, it'll have a dot instead of an X, but we're looking good. Let's go back to GitHub Desktop. Here's all the things. So I deleted the stuff that I had there. So it's all in red. And now I'm just left with my super duper lovely website. And then in style, I also deleted all this stuff and just left it with this. So there you have it. So I'm going to write a summary of, I'll just say fresh start. And then I'm going to, and it's going to like push everything that's checked. So you always want to make sure that you're checking everything, which is this top one. And then I'm going to say commit to main. That saves this timestamp, this set of changes locally. And then now it says, okay, no more local changes. Here's some friendly suggestions. You could push the commits to origin remote. So this is what pushes it up to GitHub. So think about pushing as like going up to the internet. So if I push that, then that goes to github.com. And now I can go back here to GitHub. Where is it? Here. And then, so this is the old stuff, but if I hit Command R, or if I just click in the, wrong one, sorry. Click in this bar and then hit return, it'll refresh the page. And now I'll see it just has the changes I made. And I can view those if I just copy this. So I select it, I say Command C or Control C if you're on a PC. I'm going to make a new tab. And I'm going to paste and then hit return. And that is old. So let me Command R to refresh. So the CSS didn't see how the CSS is still, this is old CSS. There's another refresh you can do called a hard refresh, which will refresh not just the HTML, but the CSS, any other files linked with the HTML file. And that is Command Shift R or Control Shift R. So here I am, my lovely, fresh, clean CSS. And the rest will be in the tags to try out with day one homework. And I am going to stop babbling. Let me know if you still have issues, and we'll figure it out. All right, thanks.